Welcome to today's video. So today we are looking at these amazing pastels. So these are French pastels and they are the Henri Roche La Maison du Roche pastels. And so we'll be looking at the natural set. So there aren't actually names or pastel numbers for these pastels, but look at the incredible colors, the richly pigmented pastels, and they're just so beautiful. So you can see here that I am actually applying some water over them. So I'll be using them in a slightly less traditional way. I'm not a pastel artist. I work mainly with watercolors. So I'll show you how I'm kind of bringing that to the pastels. And so before we begin, I'm just showing you, this is what my desk was looking like. I have been trying to create some storage for some of my pens and things so they're not just all over the desk, and so I can get a new desk setup happening. I wanted to have it by December, and then I was hoping for the new year, but let's just shoot for sometime soon. I really love reusing old tins, and this was from a set of oil pastels. Just you can get like a 5 set or 6 set to try. So I was really interested that all of my fountain pens fit in there really nicely. So it's a nice little, and it's pretty compact, so it's easy to fit on the desk. Okay, so I had a swatching party the other night, and I actually swatched these in this Sennelier linen sketchbook that I got from Cornellisen and Sons. So it's a beautiful little sketchbook. It's not really for watercolor or mixed media type things. This isn't pastel paper, but I really loved how these performed on here, and you can see like the beautiful way that the color separates. I really love them. And so here is the box that they come in. Everything about the presentation is really beautiful. You have a little pamphlet here that just discusses the history of the pastels a little bit and safety precautions, and then you get the seal, the official seal for the pastels. So I really love them. And you'll probably hear me say that a few times through the video, but the other thing I wanted to say was these are the most expensive pastels, I believe, in the world. And I used to think the Sennelier ones were expensive, but these are really super expensive. So I will show you at the end of the video a couple of other products that we're going to look at if these are out of your budget that are still really stunning. And I first saw these pastels on Katie Rogers, who was Paper Fashion, a fashion illustrator from New York, a few years ago on Instagram, I think, and she's actually just come out with her own set. But when I saw these, a natural set, I really love them. They sort of remind me of the colours of Australia. You have the amazing red earths like Uluru, the colours of the outback and the Australian bush, ghost gums and galahs, and I just really think this set is an earth-based set, so all of these pigments are natural, they're not synthetic pigments, and I think that the colours really speak to that and just give you that really soft and understated feeling of beauty. So I am just doing something that I really enjoy doing sometimes, which is swatching around a page. So you can do this on a journal page or an art journal page or a page in your sketchbook if you want to swatch kind of in a border. So sometimes I do this with watercolors, and I'll do one color and then I'll try and mix 2 colors and then do the next color and see if I can mix 1 or 2 things that I like from those 2 colours and then swatch the next colour, if that makes sense. So it makes a really pretty border around your page. You can also just write in the middle of it, or put a photo or something. So the paper I'm using here is this Saunders Waterford watercolour paper. I believe it's 300 GSM cold pressed or not paper, and it is the high white. So this is my favorite paper, and I wanted to swatch them on here so that I have a good idea of how they're going to perform. So this is probably the paper that I'll be using them on, not pastel paper. So I'll be incorporating these in with my watercolors or using them and activating them with a water and gum arabic blend, or I have a couple of other ideas that I need to try out, and then I will let you know how I'm using them to sort of fix them on the paper. The other thing I wanted to touch on is how they feel, and I did explain this a little bit in my sort of first look at these. So I have a whole video about, you know, the pastels and the colors and kind of explaining that, but I wanted to touch on that if you haven't seen that video. And someone actually left a comment there which was a really good description of them, a little bit like a pumice stone. So they aren't buttery smooth like Sennelier pastels. They have a more of a crunch to them, more of a, so I wouldn't call them gritty. They do feel a little bit more like you are, you know, taking some sandstone from those really amazing old French buildings and, you know, with the really ornate carvings, and you're kind of using that to create art with. So I wouldn't use any words that denote sort of more low budget art supplies, you know, that make you think of really cheap pastels or something. These feel so exquisite to use and really high end. And they were created, I believe, with the input of some of the old really famous pastel artists and artists. So they have a really exceptional quality about them. So artists like Matisse and Chagall, I'm not sure if those were the exact artists, but it was artists like that who had input, and then that was all taken into consideration, and this incredible formulation for these highly pigmented pastels was used. And I believe these date somewhere back to the 1700s. So I think Henri Roche took them over somewhere in the 1800s. So it, you know, these have been around. They have a well-established knowledge and working knowledge of what the artist needs to create, you know, their pieces. And the interesting thing about them for me is that I can now come in with a whole different sort of perspective on art and use them in a totally new and different way, and they perform astoundingly. So you can see here that the Sennelier sketchbook has creamer paper, and the one that I have swatched them on today is the high white, which actually makes them pop a little bit more. And so I am being a bit precious with them. I don't want to sort of waste the pastels on swatching and things, but I did want to do a little sketch here so that we can kind of see them in action and see how they perform in the way that I will be more likely to use them. So I'm starting off just with a pastel sketch here, and you can see that I have so on the other page where I did in the first swatches in the Sennelier book, I did a little pencil sketch of their logo, and I wanted to kind of recreate that in colour, in the colours of this palette and how I kind of, you know, perceive that. So like I said, I'm trying not to use too much of any colour, but I wanted to give a really nice representation of, you know, the types of ways that these colours and colour harmony will work together in paintings. So I am just kind of sketching out. I started from the shield portion of the thing, and kind of you can see that I'm just doing this, you know, I didn't do a pencil sketch or anything first, so I'm kind of just looking at where everything's going to sit on the page. So I know that I needed room for the head of the dragon there, and I know that I needed to put the shield down a little bit to leave room for that. So those are all the types of things that you can look at when you're, you know, composing a page in your sketchbook or a painting or an artwork. Okay, so hopefully you can see here the way that I'll be using these is kind of blending them on the paper. So it's a really nice way actually it's kind of different than just putting the watercolor straight onto the paper. You've already sort of placed the pigment where you want it, and then they're blending a little bit on the paper, and it's just creating quite a nice I think just sort of a feeling and an overlapping of different pigments and different colours and the way that it sort of mixes on the paper. So I really love using watercolours, handmade watercolours with the actual grains of colour in them. So not that it granulates, but there's actual granules of pigment in the watercolor, and that's the kind of thing that these pastels offer me. So I have a wider range basically of available colors that have this texture and this kind of more brings something a bit more tactile to you know, the smoothness of watercolor. So as always, I wanted to use a little bit of my favourite Winsor & Newton Gold ink and a dip pen, and then that kind of I didn't really want to use more pastels on this page, but I do go in and add a little bit more depth and a bit more colour because it is lacking that. So on their website they do have a variety of sets with different colours. You can buy the pastels open stock. There's also, so I got these from Fine Art Store in Rochester, I believe, in Rochester, New York. So you can order from them. They have some small sample sets as well, so that you can, you know, have a look and try them out before you commit to a full set. And they also do have a couple of options for this set in smaller sizes as well. So you have one in a nice little wooden box. There's also a little wooden box with 5 gold metallic pastels, which looks amazing as well. So really this was just a very happy morning working on this little page, and I hope that it has kind of shown you the beauty of the pastels. You can kind of see that through the video. It's always a bit tricky to figure out how to you know, showcase something. And so you can also go back and check the first video explaining a little bit more about these pastels. And I think, so the next video we're going to do is swatching the Sennelier pastels. So there are some bright colours and some more neutral colours and metallic colours. So you can see here the swatches for the bright colours, and there's like a little box here that I've been collecting of those. And then there's also these kind of neutrals and metallics. So there is also a little box of those, and we will swatch those out next time. And we will look at doing a different sort of painting slash you know, pastel artwork with those in a sketchbook as well. So, and then after that I want to do another video about some other more affordable ways to have, you know, these stunning results. So one way is these Derwent XL graphites. So these were actually on sale at our local art shop when we went in December. And so I just grabbed these two. They looked really nice, and I just painted with them I think the morning that I did this, or maybe the day before, and I was so impressed. They're really beautiful. So we will look at those as well. So those are a couple of videos coming up in the sort of swatching festival of colour that we are going to try and do this month. Last year we did the colour building series for watercolour, and I do have another little series that I want to do this year that is more on beginners watercolours and how to improve. So small things that you can do to improve watercolour, and I will be working on that as soon as we have done the swatching. I think it's worked out quite well, because after sort of the craziness of December, it's quite nice to just sit back and swatch a few things. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that the year is treating you well. Like you can see there, I absolutely love what that, you know, what that brings to the artwork. It's so beautiful. So, and you know, being able to incorporate water and then also leave some of it. You can see as well that I go back in at some point. I go back in, yeah, and I just blend out the other portion. So I want to kind of have on the swatch there what it looks like on its own and blend it out, and then what it looks like when the water is applied. So I hope you've had a lovely new year. I am still struggling to keep up with comments, so I will try and get back through those all. And I love everyone sharing like little bits of your day, where you're from, you know, like the landscape of your area, or things that you really enjoy painting and things like that. I really enjoy that, so I appreciate all of your input, and I hope you're having a wonderful week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.